annual predictions panel for the coming new year, and we've had some great panels in the past, and it's always exciting what the weather forecasts will bring to us. I have a couple of astrologers, I have some visionaries, I have two people with a Vedic angle on it. So, you know, we've just been coming through a very intense time, 2 years of lockdown. It's like World War III, and I think we're moving out of something. Of course, I said that last year. So who knows? We'll see what our forecasters have in store for us. And I want to thank everyone in the Zoom room as well. So let me just introduce the panelists, and then we'll just jump right into what they see coming. We have Serena Wright-Taylor, who is a Vedic astrologer. She's also big at coordinating the Conscious Life Expo in New York. She runs the UFO panel and is really into a very positive mindset. So I thank Serena for being here.
Okay.
We have Kat Devine, who is a visionary, psychic, intuitive medium. She taps into the etheric, and she's been a regular on the show for the past couple of weeks. And my good friend Marla Lombard, who is a visionary, psychic, intuitive, clairvoyant for the future. Thank you, Marla, for being here. Alex Santiago, he's one of the old timers here. I think this is your 6th or 7th year returning to the panel. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, we've had a couple. I'm glad you're there. Alex takes a kind of combination Vedic and Western astrological view. We have my friend Djenne Ba, who we'll be seeing later. And we have Antat Masuka. Thank you, Antat. You want to put your camera on? I met Antat.
I was trying to figure out how to do that.
I'll help you put it on. Let me see if I just tell you to start your camera, start video. Okay. But that's, there you go. Thank you.
All right, well, sure.
I told Serena I would start with her because she was on the West Coast. She has to go, and she's a very busy person. So Serena, thank you. Thank you for being here. And you're looking at this from a Vedic point of view. So let's see, what should we tune into first? What do you have to tell us about what you see coming from a Vedic point of view? You want to give us a little orientation to Vedic astrology too, as it opposes a Western viewpoint?
Yeah, there is a difference. And, I don't think of, most of us are Vedic astrologers, we don't think of one being a right astrology and one being the wrong astrology. It's all part of the information for this planet, whether it's Western tropical astrology or whether it's Chinese or all these, they all work. And Vedic for me has great depth. I completely relate to it. It makes so much sense. So, but all of them work. So you might hear us say different, particularly the differences, there's different positions, different signs. So for instance, there's 23 degrees difference between the tropical and Vedic. So I might be talking about a planet being in a sign, and the tropical astrologer is going to say, no, it's not, it's in the other sign. But don't worry about it. It works both ways. It makes sense to all of us. We are the same as astronomy. We go by the fixed stars, and we have 27 constellations. And so Vedic astrology is the same as, if you look up where the planets are, it's the same as what's in the sky. And oh, by the way, I was just going to say before I forget, when you introduced me, you were saying Conscious Life Expo in New York, but it's Conscious Life Expo.
Oh, yes, sorry. Los Angeles, which is coming up in February, and it's a huge expo, and it's my favorite expo because it's the biggest and the most exciting. So yes, Conscious Life Expo New York, February 4th to the 6th.
Yeah, and I'll be seeing you there. I'll be looking forward to that. And by the way, there is going to be an astrology panel, but there's going to be so much more. You go to consciouslifeexpo.com and you can see. So mostly what people are asking me first is this year going to be as bad as 2020, or are we going to have it again, or worse? That's what my clients are asking me. And no, it's not going to be as bad at all. And I'm sure everyone's agreeing with that. that in, of course, we all know about, there was various conjunctions, Pluto, Saturn and all that, and retrogrades. There was for us, the nodes were in the worst constellations they could be in, Ardra and Mula, every 18 years. And the last time it was the Twin Towers. There's always something, 9/11, every 18 years that happens. So that was bad enough. And then all these other things. But for us, for Vedic astrologers, I think the worst thing that was happening is that when Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct and traveling together for a while, Jupiter went to its lowest point of debilitation, and Saturn was conjunct that exactly, and on the 21st of December 2020. And that means less Dharma. It means like that Dharma, it disappears. It's at its lowest point, because, and Dharma means all that is good. It means spirit, it's spiritual, it's our spiritual work, our higher consciousness. It's doing good and respecting others, respecting service, all the good and pure things. And of course, Jupiter represents all that, plus good finances, truth. So all those things were at a low point, all the good things. And people were not knowing what is true, and they were angry and full of fear and full of sorrow. But that was the main part of it. And so we gradually have been coming out of that, and we are out of that.
Wait, what is the configurations that
in Vedic astrology,
yeah,
it's 5 Capricorn. That is the low point for Jupiter, and I don't know about tropical, but and that was happening in December 2020, and then Saturn went and joined it. So I know the tropical astrologers have it a little different, but for us it's 5 Capricorn, and so Jupiter was so debilitated, and then Saturn was on top of it. So what can you do? It was hugely a problem. It was something that some great sages predicted, actually, as being the worst year, more than all other things we were thinking of.
You say it's a problem. How does it manifest as a problem?
Well, you saw it manifest.
Yes, I did.
We all saw it manifest as a problem. And for the whole of 2020, but with that really is a very strong time. Then you had the January 6th event, right after that. So you can see it was major problems. So that's not happening. I don't even know when that is happening again. I don't know if it is, but it was a huge problem for the world, and of course it affects everyone. And there's, as everyone knows, personally we have our own chart. These aspects affect us personally, and in the world they affect us as well. So even if a planet isn't on something in your own chart, even if Saturn's not transiting something, and you're not maybe thinking you're going to have a negative time, that the energy of the world is affecting you. What's going on in the sky is affecting you as well. So we've come out of that. And so, no, we're not going to have anything like that.
So do you see the end of the COVID?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do. Well, it's gradual. It's gradual. So first of all, we do have this year the movement of Jupiter, which has really been very much better. It's been in Aquarius. And again, there's a difference. So I hope people, I'm trying not to mention signs, because I know there's tropical astrologers, which might confuse people.
That's okay, whatever.
But yeah, Jupiter's in Aquarius now, which is an improvement. And then our new year, the Vedic New Year, this year is actually on the 1st of April. Mm-hmm. And just after that is when Jupiter will actually go into Pisces for us, for Vedic astrology. And that is very, very auspicious. So where it's in its own sign, and of course, all the strength, all the good things about Jupiter, which I was saying earlier about truth and service and kindness, all auspicious things.
When does that happen, Jupiter and Pisces?
Actually the 13th of April for Vedic astrology.
Vedic astrology.
Yeah. And our new year is always different because it's the new moon in Pisces. And but it happens to be April the 1st this year. And it's a new moon in Pisces Vedic, of course, which is what's in the sky. And so there's various things happening that are more auspicious for this year. In fact, the name of it is auspicious, an auspicious year.
What does that mean, auspicious? Like it's going to be a good
Auspicious
year?
means like it's more positive, more helping with, you
Right.
could say good luck or good fortune, auspicious
Okay.
means good fortune. So it's great improvement. And the thing that is challenging in that chart is that there's a Saturn-Mars conjunction in our new year, and again, this is April, but the thing is that Saturn-Mars conjunction, Mars is in exaltation and Saturn is in its own sign. So that gives the highest frequency of Mars and Saturn. So that's a lot better than if they were in a bad sign for themselves. So really, we thinking of that as being more to do with building. Saturn, you build foundations, you make progress. Mars, very, very strong action. So it's kind of like infrastructure, building, and technology improvement. So there'll be a lot of those things actually happening. And also in April, the nodes change signs. Just before that, the nodes will change. More action there, more things happening. Now,
when the nodes change sign, is that a kind of positive movement?
Yeah, that's in this respect, I think it is, because Rahu goes into Aries. In this respect, it's more, I think, action oriented, kind of sensible. It's kind of a sensible transit. Mm-hmm. And of course, they change signs differently in the tropical. But we're looking at all this new year as being a great improvement, and already. Now, the thing is that Saturn for us is still in Capricorn, and in April, it does go for a short time into Aquarius and then come back. So it goes into a more free sign. Saturn in Capricorn really represents restrictions. So this is when all of our restrictions have been happening. But Saturn is not bad, it's there to show us what to work on. So wherever Saturn is in the sky, wherever Saturn is in your personal chart, where it's progressing in personal chart, it shows this is what I have to work on. So for the world, we have to make progress through restrictions or through discipline. And so we can make progress through those things, even though we don't like them. But in April, it gets a little lighter, then it does come back in July. But at the end of the year, really for 23, it's out of Capricorn. And now we're really looking at that as a main change.
Is that the COVID thing too?
Yeah, for COVID. Yeah, I'm kind of talking about COVID.
Okay, so it changes in April, but it's really not out of our system.
For a short time, for a short time till July. And then, but of course, fantastic Jupiter. And then in January 23, it's into Aquarius. So Saturn's in its own sign, but it's in the lighter one, which is more freedom and less having to make progress through restrictions, But Jupiter in Pisces, I mean, that's great for travel. And I really think the traveling will become easier from the middle of April. I've got my tickets to travel for July.
Okay.
And it's really great to get tickets when you know that, because other people aren't, and you can get good deals. You can get your tickets.
That's
so I let people know, yeah.
You guys here, right.
Yeah. So that's really happening. So this is all. Yeah, go ahead.
Should I ask the other Vedic astrologer if he agrees with some of this? Are you open to that, Alex?
Oh, yeah.
What do you make of Serena's Vedic predictions?
Which part of it? I mean, so far it looks pretty good to me. I would add some little nuances to it, though. Should I just go into it, or?
Yeah, and see if she agrees, and then we'll go ahead, add some nuances, and maybe there's an agreement.
I tend to be an eternal optimist myself, with Moon and Sag in both systems. So I think that we're not going to really have access to solutions if we don't believe that they're there. But also, I also see that it's going to be a little bit of a rough ride, but I think it's going to be a little better than this past year, just like this past year was a little better than the year before. So I think we're in the woods still, but we're starting to get a sense that there's an end to the woods and that there's a light at the end of it, or the sun. So I'm optimistic, but I feel that, should I go into some specifics in terms of the astrology?
I just wanted you to comment. We'll come back to you for the specifics, okay? And I
Yeah.
just want to see
I
if
think there's still some hairy stuff coming down the pike, but I do think it's gonna ultimately push us forward. So that's good.
Mhm.
okay, Serena, do you have
Yeah.
anything?
Well, I agree. I agree with that. And
Yeah.
I was going to say, of course, we have to think, in general about karma and about there's world karma, but we all make up the world karma, our individual selves. So we can't be, I just want to encourage people, we can't be blaming this person or that person in charge, or, we have to look at our own consciousness, and it's the result of what we see happening in the world is our own consciousness. And each of us makes a difference. And so in practicing kindness and practicing spiritual growth, we help everyone. And our happiness is their happiness, and everyone's happiness is our happiness. So it's really important.
That's a very positive spiritual attitude. Thank you.
Well, that's how it works. It's really not the planets making us have these experiences. It's our karma that's making us have these experiences. And they're just showing that.
Right.
So do you have anything? Well, do you have anything you want to conclude with? And you can hang around and join in the conversation later. But do you have any?
Yeah, I might go because I have been not so well, so I might have to go. But yeah, I did want to say, yeah, and again, it's your personal chart too. It's everyone's personal chart. That's why it's worth having readings with all these great teachers and astrologers here, because we want to know what your chart's like and how this is affecting you. Because that's why, it's not just, oh, it's a good time, everyone's going to be happy. No, there's all these different things going on, and our own karma. And then also, we'll see everyone at Conscious Life Expo. So if anyone's listening in the Los Angeles area, if you want to come in, Alan's going to be there. There's going to be there's going to be an astrology panel, and there's lots of other things. Go to consciouslifeexpo.com, and it's going to be in person. So we're really looking forward to that.
Serena's one of the producers, and we have a talent show this year, right, Serena?
Yes, it's a talent show as well, and there's award ceremony, lots of entertainment.
So if you are in the Los Angeles area, Marla, come by the Conscious Life Expo at the LAX Hilton. Serena's one of the producers, and it's really the best show in the country. It really is. So, Serena, how can people find you? You give private sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about
my website is vimana.org. Vimana is like the spaceships in India, the ancient spaceships, Vimana, vimana.org. And you can write to me, serena@vimana.org, and schedule readings.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us. Feel free to hang out and or come jump back in. Let's go to a Western astrologer, and Alex, we'll get back to you in a little bit, but thanks for that kind of interplay. And Tots, you were really at the first panel I hosted there at the Edgar Cayce Center, and you had a lot to say, and you're quite a well-versed astrologer. So, and you're a Western astrologer as opposed to Serena and Alex. So what do you see coming down the road here for us? I mean, I know you have a whole thing charted out, so give us about 10 minutes or something of what you got.
Hi, Alan. Hi, panelists. I remember that seminar we did back then at the ARE. Yeah, that's good.
7 years ago, that was the first.
About 7, yeah, it was my idea to start the annual predictions. And so we did it in June. And I just quickly say we can do predictions anytime, not just at the beginning of the year.
I think beginning of the year is like kind of like,
highlight.
Fun, people.
Yeah, everybody's looking forward it. Yeah. All right. So for the year 2022.
Yes.
We're really, from my point of view, from a Western point of view, and from what a lot of the astrologers out there have been blowing the horn on for maybe the past 2 or 3 years, so many lectures on the topic of the 5 conjunctions that occurred in the year 2020, where the first one occurred on January 12th, which was, it is said that's the date when the first person died of coronavirus in Wuhan. So, It's really, we haven't seen this period in 5,860 years.
What period are you talking about?
The period that we're going through now, the conjunctions that occurred in 2020. Those conjunctions with Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto in Capricorn, while Uranus is in Taurus, that lineup of planet, that configuration, the last time it happened was 3838 BC. And it was less intense than what we're experiencing in 2020 and 2021 going into 2022. We're in 2022 now. So this period we're going through, and I'd like to look at it as a period as opposed to just a single year, because it's just one step in the process. Yes, we can zero in on the year to see what step this is.
No, you're right. It doesn't begin anywhere or end anywhere. So yeah, let's look at the process. Yes.
Yeah. So in that context, this period that we're in, it's really epoch changing. We're changing from one epoch to another, because if you remember back in the third millennium BC, that was the beginning of many civilizations all over the globe. And so we're moving literally into a new paradigm, a new way of existing. And one obvious marker for that, which we can easily see and recognize, is the movement from moving out of Pisces into Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. And another thing we have to pay attention to, because I don't want to forget about it, is what's happening with the United States. The United States is coming up on its first Pluto return. And nobody goes through a Pluto return and comes out the same. You will be changed. You will be transformed.
When is that supposed to happen, the Pluto return?
That's happening right now as we speak. It depends on which date you use for that, but it's happening degree, and I would say it was most exact. If you use 1775 as opposed to 1776, which is the year they entered into the debt arrangements, then it happened like 2 weeks ago. And if you're using July 4th, 1776, then it's going to be happening in February of this year. Now, because Pluto moves so slowly, the transformation is gradual. And added to that, we had 3 eclipses that crisscrossed the United States in very dramatic fashion. And
what do eclipses mean in a chart?
The eclipses can be, I think a lot of times it just says what it means what it says. It's an eclipse, meaning that a cutting off of one thing, an overshadowing of another thing. So an eclipse at its most fundamental level is bringing to an end, and could be over a period of 3 or 6 years, because you get more than one in a cycle. Something that's going on, it's introducing something new. And for the person experiencing it in their natal chart, it can be quite sudden. It can be quite dramatic, such as losing your job on that day or something like that. So this year,
tell us the eclipses for this year.
This year we are going to be having 4 eclipses that are going to be occurring, and those eclipses, 2 of them are going to be lunar eclipses, and 2 of them are going to be solar eclipses. So we're going to have it in Taurus and Scorpio. Very powerful, very powerful. I know we touched on things, we haven't really tied them together.
Right.
We hit a lot of sensitive buttons. Why is it so? Because Uranus is in Taurus. And we're going to be having these eclipses occurring in Taurus and in Scorpio. So to me, the stock market comes to mind. How will this affect the stock market? For example, we know that the buoyancy that we see in the stock market is very much driven by technology stocks and pharmaceuticals and things of that nature.
Right.
And should for any reason the air, comes out of those balloons, you could see some volatility or radical shift on the market. And it could happen more than once, not just one fall, but more than once.
So you see a swing in the markets this year?
Oh, yes. The swing is going to be continuing all the way up until March 23rd, 2023. Now, that is our date, our transformation date, going from Pisces into Aquarius. And it's very much so, because you see Jupiter led the way along with Saturn in December 2020, when they both entered Aquarius on the Western astrology side, not the Vedic. You'd have still been in Capricorn at that point on the Vedic side. And then Pluto conjuncted Saturn right on that winter solstice of 2020. And this year, we're also going to be having a conjunction on the winter solstice coming up as well.
Coming up in next December, you're saying?
Yes, on this solstice. Our solstices have been very, very active with some powerful energy being pumped in. So it's going to be, So that's happening.
But what do we have to look forward to this year? Give us some.
I think this is, as I put out a paper on it called "The Road Ahead 2022." It's really, I see it more as a period from 2020. You could say December 2019 to 2030 to 2031. And the reason why I am looking at that entire period, number one, the transfer over of Pluto into Aquarius in March of 2023. The ending of the authorization occurs at that period, and all the vaccines are null and void after that because the authorization is ended. Then there's cryptocurrency, there's moving towards digital. All these things are occurring and they're building up towards that date. So this year then, that's only 3 months in 2023. So this year, 2022, is really the year of implementation. It's really the year of New World Order, accomplishing what they set out to accomplish.
Is that's not a good thing? The New World Order is setting out to accomplish what they want to, right?
Well, things can be. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What we find is that to become awakened, you have to kind of more or less see what's going on. And then, when you see what's going on, then you have the motivation to bring about change. So on one hand, it's not good. In another hand, it is good in the sense that it can lead to something better. It can lead to something much more in alignment with the age of Aquarius that's coming in. So what basically, in my view, you have happening is a draconian push to establish some kind of an order, before this transition takes place, and an awakening occurring at the same time that's redefining the values under which any new order should be established. So it's both good and bad.
So you see eventually a new order coming. Is that what you're saying?
And that makes it epoch changing, because the order that's coming, we're coming out of the age of Pisces. And just to remind our listeners what that means, it means water. It means, Britannia ruled the world was ruled through the sea. Whomever had sea power controlled the world. Now it's whomever has air power, whoever is controlling the sky controls the world. And that's the shift that as we go from one age to the next. For example, in the age of Aquarius, we have all electricity comes to light. Light is everywhere. These are the markers that we can use to distinguish between the ages. So in going to Aquarius, we're going into a more technologically driven age, but we're also going into an age where people will want to go back to nature. People will want to do things the way it used to be done. So we're seeing that kind of interplay going on right now.
Great. Can you hang out for a little while? We'll get back to you. I just want to get some other comments here. Okay,
Sure.
Untot?
Mhm.
Michael, you have something to say, Michael Ney? I know you're not an astrologer or even.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I think we're in probably some of the most momentous times in probably living memory, really. And, you know, we should still keep recognizing that constantly. And the movement towards ascension and coupled with disclosure is a phenomenal thing. And, you know, we're hearing our predictions and readings from astrologers, so it's all in the stars. But my own personal experience has given me more hope, even in the face of what seems to be big disaster, both ecologically and society-wise, with the pandemic and all of that. And I think there's a lot of people in this field, if we can call it the field community, who are feeling a similar kind of thing. And, you know, people such as yourself, Alan, are spreading that message. And we need to keep that hope alive, because I think there's troubled times coming, purely from the environmental point of view, let alone anything else. And that's probably about as much as I need to say.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Let me hear from a visionary here, Marla Lombard. Marla, what do you make of all this? And you know, I know you're not an astrologer, but you do look into the future because you do a lot of readings for people. But like globally, what are you seeing, Marla? Wait, unmute. We don't want to miss a word. Unmute. Wait, there you go. Okay, Marla Lombard, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I think that the emphasis, while these global and beyond things are so important, what I see is really important is the individual personal growth and interaction with our own circle. So I think it is the moment to sort of be your own sun. And I think, you know, we've been in such a period of quickening. It's dizzying, all the external events that we have happening in our own lives, the internal growth we're going through, and then the world stage events. I mean, it's very, can be very confusing. And it's a little bit like a roller coaster, like which direction is really up? Is this good or bad? You know, this hill looks really big and this down looks really long. But I think our job right now is not to judge any of that, to let go, to move forward at this really fast pace, and just know that it really has value and importance in terms of our own growth, and therefore for the world, because we're all participating in the world, as Serena said. So this looks to me like it starts to lighten up about mid-January. And instead of going at top speed, we sort of shift down into a lower, more manageable gear, which will kind of be a relief for everyone.
Yeah.
And then by April, which this has been said by others, kind of mid-April, will really be much more back in the sort of swing of things, you know, back into our lives, back into interaction with others. And the one thing that I really want to say in this message that I've been getting is prepare for the unexpected joys in life. We've been,
that's a nice prediction. Thank you.
Isn't it nice? I mean, we've been very geared towards, you know, disastrous things, but I think that we have amazing joys coming up, whether it is as simple as noticing a flower, or I see a lot of this, and it kind of makes sense because we've all been so hidden away from one another. But what I do see are a lot of relationships forming, and I mean a lot of love relationships, but also relationships of different kinds. So I see relationships reforming, and I think really healthier relationships. I think families coming, I should say, people getting married, people partnering up, people creating new family. I think there's going to be a lot of that. And I think there's going to be a great deal of joy in that. And I want to say to everybody, I think that the partnering up, especially in terms of love, might happen very quickly. And so don't be surprised, and embrace love in whatever forms it comes in.
Oh, that is a nice prediction for this new time. Thank you, Marla. I appreciate your being here, but stick around. Let me go back to Alex. Alex,
Hi, still here.
You really predicted the coming down of the COVID in 2020. You did warn us that something was coming. You didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
but
we all saw it.
you
It
all
was
saw it,
evident to anyone who could see a little bit. Yeah, it was evident
but
that something was down.
as we come out the other side of that, what do you see now?
Well, I do feel we are moving forward, but it's a bumpy ride. And I like that she just spoke about the importance of the spiritual perspective and looking for joy, because, collectively, this is a dream we're having, our soul is having, and it's an illusion, although a very persistent one, as Einstein said about time. It's powerful, but it's even the power within us is even stronger. We are collectively creating everything, and the stars are basically symbolizing what we're working with, but they don't determine what we choose unless we give our power away. So we could be responsive or reactive, consciously creating, or through default, unconsciously. So it's
Oh,
important
wait,
to
it
remember.
gives us a situation, but then we choose how to react to that situation. Is that what you're saying?
Totally. And we can choose even to benefit from it, even if it's uncomfortable. And I used to listen to a lot of Esther Hicks Abraham, and she always would say, or they would say through her, these are the best of times and the worst of times. So, and it's getting more intense both ways.
I guess
So you just gotta pick one.
changed. Oh, nothing has changed since then.
Right. So it's getting more that way, more of that. So like 2020, like there's something in the Vedic system called Karla, Sarpa, Yoga, or Dosha. And that's when the serpent of time, depicted by the north and south nodes of the moon in space, also known as the serpent's head and tail, Rahu, Ketu. And they're basically agents of karma and world karma, but they could also depict personal if it's hitting a personal point in your chart. Otherwise, you're just kind of watching the world go through stuff, but it affects everybody, so you're not really just watching. The Karla Sarpa Yoga is a thing where, a condition where all the planets in the heavens are hemmed in those 2 points in one side of the chart. And when that happens, it kind of feels like it seems like things are beyond our control, the karma, and the whole world is affected, and they're very karmic times. So we actually, like all the slower moving planets were already beginning to be in that in the beginning of 2020. So starting to give you that hemmed in feeling, and then we started having lockdowns around the world. But the full Karla Sarpa Yoga, where everyone has to pay attention and there's no escape, began because every planet, including Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, which a lot of Vedics don't even use, actually is from 12 last year on the 16th through April this year, April 13th. And so we're basically given the opportunity to really soul search, deal with our own personal demons and collective demons. And we have to listen and we have to pay attention. Otherwise, if we give all our power away to governments and powers that be, they might not always have our best interests at heart. So we have to realize we're sovereign. We have to make our own choices, but not be in resistance, because a lot of these people in government, it's not good and bad. Like, you're the good people and the left and the right, which is a distraction so that those who are up to no good can keep us fighting among each other while they do what they're doing. So basically, people are going to be feeling a bit hemmed in with a sense of uncertainty until April, but then there'll be a shift then. There are a couple of planets, Jupiter and Saturn.
The Vedic New Year will help shift that, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yes, and also Saturn will be shifting into the sidereal Aquarius, and Jupiter will go into Pisces, its own sign, and Aquarius is the own sign of Saturn as well. So they'll both be in their own signs. They'll both be productive. Jupiter will add a sense of optimism and good faith, even though we're having these lockdowns still. I think we're going to have more lockdowns coming up before this month is over and in February. And that's going to affect the economy. The top 1% are profiting through all of this more than they've ever been. So the economy will look like it's getting better in some regards, but the average person may not be doing so well.
When do you see the
crypto,
lockdowns ending? Is there a time where?
Okay, well, it depends on the government, but I think while Saturn's in Capricorn in its own sign, it's its more serious sign until April. But even then in April, it will go retrograde from June to October 22nd, mid-June till the third week of October, and then it'll go back into Capricorn again, and then go back into Aquarius for good. But when we get a taste of it going into Aquarius, that will be, that's actually in the spring. I think what's going to happen is that there will be different places having lockdowns, but there will be more. Omicron is not the last variant.
It's not.
I think there'll be more, but they'll be just like it in the sense where they're easier and easier to catch, but not so severe.
Mhm.
So people are going to not feel as threatened, although they're still going to be like, well, we should still do this and should still do that. There's a lot of confusion, but I think if you want to know when that most of that's going to be over, will be the spring of 2023.
So this is still a year of transition, you're saying? We're not.
Yeah, slightly lighter. I have to say, though, there's some periods in this year where the governments and powers that be may try to flex their muscle a bit too much for the liking and taste of even those who normally would support that. And I think you're going to see that when Mars, let me see, I wrote this, took down too many notes as usual.
No, that's okay. You're always good. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So let's see. Mars. So we're going to see people. Okay. So between the second half of January into late February, we're going to have 3 planets in Capricorn, and it can trigger some anti-establishment resistance, riots, political turmoil. I think they're going to try to go too far with these lockdowns and passports, and they're going to see how far they can go with this, take advantage of that. Some of it may be good intention by those who know and don't know, they're just trying to help. And some of them are going to take advantage of this, and then people are going to awaken to that. And I think they're even going to be tempted to have a good social credit score thing happening.
Like in China, you mean, that whole Chinese social
credit. I think they're playing with that already in Australia.
Wow.
And I think maybe, yeah. And it's like, people are going to be like, no, because America has moon in Aquarius, and we're a bit of we're not, a little bit like Texas, a little bit. There's that in our blood collectively, and we're like, we're not going to stand for it. So they're going to have to reevaluate.
Do you see anything about the Pluto return for the US chart?
Yeah, well, I think that symbolizes a major overhaul of our government and its connection with large corporations. Pluto is the plutocracy, the powers that be, the big money and power, and it's in Capricorn. So that's government and large corporations and authority. And yeah, like Antot said, it'll be our first Pluto return. So it's kind of a day of reckoning, a judgment day to our government and large corporations. So the way it's going to play out, I think, because there's going to be 3 hits in 2022, the first, if you do the 4th of July chart, will be in February, and it will play out through 2022 this year. although it's been creeping up the last couple of years, so we've been feeling it. But now it's going to be like, okay, we have to make some decisions here. So will Biden finish his term? I doubt it. I think Kamala will even rise up, but I'm not sure she's even going to stay in that, because there's going to be so many things addressed and so many conspiracies and things coming to light, some of it accurate, some of it not. And so what was your question again? Oh, Pluto return.
The Pluto return, yeah.
Yes, it's just so much. And energetically, I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh my God, how do I address this with words? Okay, so it's going to be a complete inner transformation of our government structure. It's going to be interesting to see. And I don't think we have a reference to compare it to so much, although we're also going to have in 2023 our third Uranus return for the US. So that could represent revolution and people just saying enough is enough. We need a new system, and that's also symbolic of our Aquarian energy coming in.
And Uranus is also the planet of UFOs too, right?
Yes, I know you like to talk about that. Now, I think that they're already here, but I think they're kind of incognito because we are not even a level 1 collectively. I forgot the name of this Japanese scientist who teaches at Baruch. He's a genius. And he says, we're not even at level 1 yet. And every time, like right now, we kind of get close, something like a world war happens or a cataclysm or something, and then we got to go back from the beginning. I'm optimistic, and I'm hoping that maybe some of us will get it this time, and we will usher in a new temporary little golden age during this horrible Kali Yuga, which is still going another 400 and something thousand years. You don't want to be here for the end part of that. So we want to get out of that cycle now during the golden age that may be dawning now with the Aquarian energy, and then get out of this system, this school, so we can go to Arcturus, like Edgar Casey said, and learn.
Are we all going to Arcturus? That's good. Okay.
Well, a lot of us, yes. And I think
I've been there. It's lovely.
You have been there. Oh, wow. Okay.
Probably.
Did you have to get vaccinated to go? No. Okay. No. So, but I like that Jupiter's entering Pisces in the Vedic. It will meet up with Neptune in April. So it's going to be a very like a little breeze of fresh air, and people will start to be more compassionate. But it's also depending on what octave of it you're resonating with. It could also be over idealism and blind faith to things that people like gullible. So it was also like the last time we had Neptune and Pisces, we had the rise of Marxism and communism and stuff. It was very idealistic, but it wasn't very functional. But Mercury will be an earth sign half of this year, 6 months out of the 12 months this year, trying to bring practical ideas. I mean, there's much more.
All right, we'll come back. We'll come back to you. I want to jump to some other people. Let me just bring up Kat Divine, and Kat. You getting any? Kat's not an astrologer, but she is a visionary like Marla. And what do you see coming down the line here, Kat?
Yeah, well, a few things, such as, well, let me start off by saying this as a whole. I kind of feel that, you know, there's every time I tune in, it's just basically, I feel like this shift is like really pulling the two earths apart. And that's how I keep saying it. I feel like you know, and I've said this in the past about the light really is our forefront. We're really stepped over that line of the light workers, the healers, those coming into play. And I feel like that shift is really bringing up the power for us. And I feel like, you know, so, you know, it was what we would see as like the dark earth or something to that effect. The dark earth is what I want to say. It's just becoming so much smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So I do feel though that break is really where it is. January for me, it was like when I feel into January, it's a very stillness. It's really kind of like setting the tone for the rest of the year, but not to do really anything, just kind of like sit in that calmness to everything that we've been working toward, everything that we've been trying to and struggling through, and everything else is really about just kind of sitting in that stillness. And not to make any, you know, quick plans or quick, you know, like, you know, the start of the year is always like, hurry up and get going. You got to, you know, make big plans for the year. It's not, I don't feel like that. It's a very still waters is what I get. And then when I move in, so February for me is really about awareness. So starting to look up, starting to look around, starting to see what's going on with the rest of the planet, seeing and not making any judgment calls. By doing that, you're starting to observe, take notes, and then into March is like a step forward. That's where I feel like we're all starting to like go forward. Like, okay, now we know what we're doing. We've already sat in the stillness. We know who we are. We're ready to take action. So that's March for me. April, I do feel those big feelings of like, it's kind of like a dip, a really big dip in the tone of like I said, like the darker earth. I don't really want to use that word as darker earth, but I do feel like the old patterns are going to stay in that zone, and then the new ones are going to come out, if that makes any sense at all. I just feel like, I just feel like April's like a big shift. There's a big break in the pattern is what I get, a big break there.
That's what the Vedic astrologers have been saying here today. There will be a shift as that new moon in.
Yeah, you don't want to even see my notepad because it's literally like, I guess, it's a total break point. It's a mess. And in May, I kind of feel like we regain momentum again. After that shift, after that break point. And you know, again, the astrologists probably know much more about, you know, what exactly is going to occur, or, you know, many more predictions, such as if I fine tune it. But for me, it's kind of like us regaining that momentum. And I do feel like, you know, a lot of it is with the illnesses and the sicknesses. I kind of feel like it kind of is in a little bit of a lull. And then we kind of start to move forward again and get up. It's kind of like we get knocked down and then we just get back up again. That's kind of how I feel in May. June is kind of like, I feel like a swirling around. I know that doesn't make sense too much. It's like a swirling around, like, okay, I know we're supposed to be doing something now after we get back up after that fall. But I kind of feel like it's like just kind of readjusting everything. I kind of feel like, okay, let me take action. Let me think about, okay, north, south, east, west, where am I going? What direction? And that's kind of how I see it, as a little bit of a swirl, but in a good way. Like in a good way, it's kind of like we're taking a new perspective on everything that's been in the forefront.
All right. You don't have to go through them. We'll come back for the rest of the year. If you want.
Good.
Okay.
All right, sounds great.
Well, thank you. Kat is also an intuitive. She gives private sessions and healing and channeling. Okay, thank you. I'm now to my very good friend, Djenne Ba, who's one of my favorite astrologers. I've known her when I met her for lifetimes, I said. So I'm so happy she's here. She really is a great student of astrology, studied many, many systems. So Djenne Ba, welcome back to the prediction show. What's going on? Tell us. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let there be light. Let there be light. Genesis 1:3. I wanted to sing just a mantra to activate
Yes,
that.
please. We need to bring it up a little bit and bring some for that joy that you're carrying with you.
Yeah, the Gayatri mantra.
Okay.
Which is a famous mantra by Vishwamitra, the saint. And it goes, Om Bhurбhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devas Yadimahi Diyo Yona Pracholayatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
It's a good beginning prayer for beginnings.
It's a good mantra, you know, that is chanted in the mornings at sunrise, and it's very empowering. And about a couple of months ago, I woke up early in the morning and I believe an angel whispered in my ear, let there be light, let there be light, let there be light, 3 times.
Wow.
And ever since that, I have been looking at things and experiencing things in a different way. In fact, I was meditating and it was said to me that astrology, the study of astrology or astrology is equal to E equal MC square.
Explain
That's
that. Explain.
Well, because of the energy equals of the mass, the matter, times the light squared, and E equal MC squared. And because we have the embodiment of the light in Vedic astrology, the planets and the stars are considered as the lights. And we receive this light and we have light within us. And so when we study the stars and the heavens, you know, and activate that energy within us, to me, it was revealed that E equal MC squared, that this is what the study of astrology is.
Great. So what do you see coming for us on the planet Earth?
Well, let me share, I want to share my screen.
Oh yeah, let me make you the let me make you a co-host here to share your screen. Good. I'm glad you're going to share some charts with us
I'm
here.
going to show you the, I hope if I can figure this out. Once you
Okay, now you're a co-host. You can share your screen.
share my
At the
screen.
bottom. Good. We wanted to see some charts. People were asking about charts, and we'll also take questions from the group chat after.
Let me try to figure this out because
Okay, now you are sharing your screen. Now you just have to pull up your presentation.
okay.
There it goes.
So what I did is I like to cast a chart for the new year, and I know I usually would cast it for New York if I was in New York, but because there's so much political stuff happening in the nation's capital, I cast this chart for the New Year's at sunrise. And the official time is 7:27 a.m., but I bounce it up to 7:32 a.m., 5 minutes, when it actually rises above the horizon.
Right.
And so when we look at this chart, we can see that Capricorn is on the ascendant right here, rising. And we see this is the first house, and it's full with Venus, Pluto, Mercury, and Saturn. And so, you know, it's just showing me that things are going to be very visible, what's going on in this country, especially on the political side, because as a few astrologers mentioned, the Pluto return, what was happening when this country was formed, and the whole slavery.
Yeah.
And the connection to the suppression of voting and what's happening right now and what happened on the Capitol last year on this exact date.
Right.
So to me, that's a whole embodiment of this Pluto return, because America is still dealing with the race issue.
Yeah.
So, you know, right here, I feel like I may be preaching to the choir. Because
that's okay. This will go out to other people, but this is what's all happening in the first house. You're saying here.
I'm saying that we have Venus, Pluto, Mercury, and Saturn, which gives a lot of activity as far as how the world is looking at us and what America is putting out to the world. You know, and there's going to be a lot of changes, because when we look to the fourth house, we see Uranus at home in the fourth house. So things are going to be shooken up. Also, when we look at the second house, because the Aries, this is how we assert ourselves in the world. The first house is Aries. You go to the second house and we have Taurus. And we can see Jupiter here, 0 degrees. It just went into Pisces. And we have Neptune here also for the financial piece. So there's going to be some expansion for our comforts and stuff. But with the Neptune here, everything isn't going to seem as appear as it may seem. We're talking about, you know, smoke and mirrors.
Right.
So we have the sun and the moon in the 12th house. And so for me, when I break this down, I want to tell you that we have 2 planets in fire. That's the moon and Mars in Sag. We have 2 planets in water, Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces. We have 1 planet in air, which is Saturn in Aquarius right here. And then we have 4 planets in Earth, and that's the stellium right here of Capricorn, okay? And so what I do is I take the highest elements, so we have 2 planets in fire, 2 planets in water, 1 planet in air, and 5 planets in Earth. And so that's given us a dominant of Earth, that's half of the planets being in Earth signs. And so that means that when we're talking about the ecology and what's happening with what we're doing with our food, it's going to be very significant this coming year. Also, I wanted to address 2022 because
Yes.
we have all these 2s. And in the system that I study, 2 is the number for the goddess Isis. Okay.
Oh, okay,
And
great.
she's the divine mother. She's nurturing. She's nurturing with her breast, you know, her son Heru, which was immaculately conceived via spirit. And she rules over all the sciences. So this energy is very powerful for this year. So when you take 2 and you have a Virgo energy in the system that I use, 2 is the number for Virgo, which is dealing with polarity, opposites. So there's going to be a lot, you know, trying to get that balance of the polarity that's going on. And then when you add another 2, you have 4, and 4 it makes it Scorpio. And so that Scorpio energy is going to be very dominant this year as in last year. And Scorpio is dealing with your ancestors, and it's also dealing with death. So that, for me, is showing the pandemic energy is still going to be, you know, we're still going to be riding the wave of that. But then when you add this third 2, you come to 6. And I hope you can just stay with me with the interweaving of the astrology and the numerology.
We get it. Go ahead. Keep going. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the 6, we get the planet Venus. And so Venus, you know, our love energy, the female energy, because if we want a plug, you know, I'm an esoteric astrologer, and if we want to plug into our spiritual side, we have to do it through the female energy side. And so the female energy is dominating this year very strongly. I was one of the other speakers, you were talking about the spiritual aspect of all of this. It's like, this is a Virgo is also ruling with health. And so dealing with your health and your heart chakra is how you can keep on top of things and move forward in 2022. I definitely want to say that, so we have the goddess energy of Isis. We have the goddess energy of Ma'at, who, let me see if I have her. I can't, this is hiding my,
Just,
let me see. Yes, we have the goddess energy of Ma'at, and her feather of truth, justice, and righteousness. When in the afterlife, your heart is put on the scale so that your heart balances, which means taking things lightly. You can't take all your anger and your hatred, and that all this polarity that is going on politically. And so the key thing is you definitely got to nurture the inner life, and that is how you will ascend all of this madness that's going on. Because just for me, and looking at the political situation, the race issue in America, because that, of course, which is so deep in the South, how all this legislation in 29 states, they're doing voter suppression laws that affect people of color, not just Black people, but Latino people, Asian people, Native American people, because we have people who are not ready for the changing of the race, the predominance of the white male society is resisting. That's why the 44th president, the 45th president, 45, because Obama was 44, I don't say his name. So 45, he appointed, I believe, up to 200 federal judges. So when all of these cases go into court looking for justice, we're going to have these conservatives on these courts. And so this is very significant to understand of how people who are carrying the Confederate flag are resistant for people of color to get their power in this country. And it's inevitable. They've already predicted by 2030, you know, that people of color are the predominant race in this country. And people just don't want to talk about that. So
that something will change either one way or the other, right? Is that what you're saying?
well, it has to change, but I'm just saying in 2022, we're up for a big fight because this racial piece has not been resolved. And, you know, because, you know, when we look at it, you know, Black people, slaves were considered 3/5 of a human being, and they were property. And, you know, there's certain people who still believe that. Now, I can tell you, I was in the South in the 80s, and I was in Virginia Beach at the Edgar Cayce Center. And I was at a hotel in a swimming pool, and a person, a woman grabbed her kids out of the pool and said that I was poisoned. She didn't want her kids swimming in the pool with me.
Wow.
And so you're looking at, you know, so many situations where people, this race issue, they think they're better when we come down to it, we're all one. And so this is why the heart chakra has to be healed. And like, to me, the heart chakra is the answer to every problem on this planet. Healing of the heart chakra.
So do you think this year we'll have a chance to work through that? Is that what this year, 2022, is about with the?
I'm saying that for my interpretation as an esoteric astrologer, it says that the people should have that intention if we want to rise above what happened a year ago at the Capitol.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I think, but at least the people here, I think, have that intention. So
yes, I just want to say that I do have a lot of people who claim to so-called spiritual people. I do want to say that I call them the wannabes.
Yeah.
That voted for Trump. I mean, oh my God, I said his name. Who voted for 45?
Okay.
So I'm just saying that how can you claim to have a spiritual mindset and vote for 45? It is very contradictory, very hypocritical,
well,
and outrageous. I call them the wannabe, the people who want to be spiritual, but they really have no clue.
Right. But what do you see coming for this year? What do you see? I mean, there's, yes, political battles, voter. I mean, what do you see anything good coming out of this time of transformation?
Yeah, for me, when you ask that question, you know, taking it on a personal level, I take it for, it's an inner, it's that we who care must go within to raise our vibrational frequency. That those who really care, is on us to raise the vibrational frequency and really examine how we are treating people in our lives.
Right.
So
right.
To me, it's a lot of inner growth, because I said it, as long as you meditate and align with the female energy and invoke these goddesses, like I said, the 222 is very powerful, but it's gonna be a hell of a year. Right.
No, it is. But I think all the issues are coming to the surface, you know?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Anyway, let's see if there's any questions from the crowd or any other comments. Anything else, Djenne Ba? Thank you for this in-depth study. Anything else you want to leave us with?
Just go ahead. I may come back with something else. I have a lot of notes here.
You have to unshare your screen.
Okay. Yes, dear.
Thank you. Thank you. You're looking great. You're looking beautiful there.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. You're looking good too. Everybody's looking good. Happy New Year.
Okay, so does anyone have a question for any people on the panel have a question for someone else on the panel? Or Antot, you didn't really finish your presentation. You have any other comments you want to say here today?
Well, in the interest of time, I'll just be brief. I'll say that the Pluto return, what it represents, is the ending of the debt of the current system, United States as we know it. That ended, and I won't get into it much for those out there who are aware of it, in 1999 with the bankruptcy, which started all the way back to the founding days in 1775. I'm not talking 1776. And the rebirth of the United States. And that, I think, will probably, that should be happening now, but it's not physically happening now. I think by the end of the decade, around 2030, we're going to see that rebirth. So the rebirth of the United States will require a constitutional convention, which means a reshaping of the United States with basically a new charter, and all the states have to come together for that to happen. So you have the ending of this United States as we know it, which was never the United States of America. It was always United States Inc., a corporation. And the people coming in through the Constitutional Convention to create a new United States. That is, to me, is what
When are you saying that's going to happen?
Represent. That's what it represents.
When do you say that might happen? This new
you can Google it. You will see that there's a lot of action being taken now for that to happen, led by different states and different Congress people. But I believe that you're going to have to get Pluto enter an Aquarius, and it could happen anywhere from 2023 to the end of the decade, which is 2030.
Restructuring of government and
right. I have it in my note in my paper as 2031, just to be conservative. But it's definitely going to happen. The United States, as we know it, is over.
Is it?
It is. It has been.
Or do you mean the currency? Do you mean the particular financial currency of the
no, I meant in terms of its political structure.
All right. Alex, do you agree with that, Alex? Or do you, I mean, it's okay to disagree.
Yeah, he said as we know it. So I think it'll continue to exist, but it will be transformed. You know, Pluto's higher expression is the phoenix rising out of the ashes, but there's going to be a lot of ashes too. I mean, there's going to be a lot of uncomfortable transformation, but ultimately, when we're deeper in Aquarius, we'll look back and say it was a necessary, uncomfortable time of purging. It won't be smooth, I'll say that. But I think in hindsight, so when it goes into Aquarius, Pluto in a few years, I think we're going to initially face the shadow aspects of Aquarius potentially, which is about getting everybody into a herd mentality and for the good of everybody, and, you know, too much with the AI and all that stuff where it's like unbalanced, but until we find that balance. So eventually the Aquarian energy does have some potential positive aspects to it. Brotherhood, caring for the land, the ecology, you know, everyone's equal, it's beautiful. But until we have that consciousness that can hold that in a healthy way, it's going to come through in an unhealthy way. Now, my background growing up was evangelical, so we knew the Bible. And so I keep seeing in my mind Revelations 13, and that shows a potentially shadow aspect of what could happen, which is when everyone gets chipped. You don't want that to happen.
The mark of the beast.
So we might have, right. So we might have to, in groups, as we start to awaken with Jupiter going into Pisces and everything, we might hear more about people living off the grid more and more, and just living with the land and brotherhood in smaller pockets. And then eventually that will catch on and be dominant. But until it's dominant, they're going to be criticized heavily by the powers that be, and maybe even attacked in a very ugly way.
Are you sure we don't have the mark of the beast already coming at us?
Well, I think we have the system that's being set up, and they're experimenting with obedience and people complying and stuff, things becoming more technological, going paperless soon, you know, with money and stuff like that, with the Uranus going through Taurus. Yeah, I think we're very fast approaching that. And we have that system of the beast, but it's not in full swing yet.
Right.
You know,
right.
because when you're forced to take it, or you can't buy or sell, or you may actually be dead, you know, they might actually, or they'll have a way of cutting you off from your finances because it'll be digital, because you're not a good citizen. So they might start that incrementally with the passports, you know. So we got to be careful with that. You know, I'm not anti-vax or pro-vax, but I am pro-choice with that, you know. This is our body, and it's important that we respect that.
Well,
you know.
thank you. Maybe Marla has an answer for us working with our energy systems and activating the higher frequencies of love and consciousness. Marla, do you want to talk about that? Unmute so we can hear you, Marla. Yes.
I'm so sorry. I have a dog here that barks.
That's okay.
So, yes, I do want to talk about this, Alan. Thank you.
Yes.
Because we need to remain stable on the inside, and because we have evolved more than we realize, we need to get our energy systems caught up to where we are and to where we're going in the new future. So I just want to urge everyone to work on your internal energy system and your aura so it's stable, so it's clear, so that the colors symbolically are right if you're into colors. I've had 2 clients this week where I did energy sessions, and it was really inspiring because once I and the guides, you know, my whole team, it's obviously not just me, sort of cleared things up, which I noticed with both these particular clients, they didn't need a lot of clearing like years and years ago. They didn't have lots of dark stuff. They didn't need a lot of transformation, but what they needed was an updating. And both clients ended up with silver and gold energy primarily, which is something that I used to not see. I used to see if somebody had predominantly silver energy, I knew that they were a high level being and that their energy was very capable and capable of moving very quickly at a high level. So it really got my attention when I saw that this week. I also saw that of these 2 people in particular, their systems needed to be stable, but they needed to be very fine. And in that way, I mean, I'll give you an example. With one of the men, his energy system integrated during the session into his nervous system. And the whole thing looked to me like beautiful gold filigree. So it looked metallic. Therefore, it was a stable structure, but it was so finely done. And it was, you know, like the color of a halo. So it was a high level color. So no color has to be good or bad, by the way, but I've just been seeing more of that. And so again, I just urge everybody, keep your system stable and updated.
But
Whatever
how do
that
we
means, you know.
how do we do that actually, Marla? What do we do to do that? What do you suggest?
That's an excellent question, because I think we're a little bit beyond things like grounding. I mean, I think that's so important. Grounding is huge, but I think we're moving into like a different system. I think I would urge people, because I think people are a little bit worn out too. Not only are we transferring to a whole different internal energy system, but we're also a little tired. So you want to make sure, A, that you do things that replenish you, that feed you, and that nourish you. That's really important. And then the next thing I would suggest is going to an energy worker, working with someone who can update your system, who can stabilize it, or more importantly, even for now, fill you up with enough energy to last the next few months.
So we have to work on ourselves, but we also have to eat better and live healthier and do all the things that.
Yeah, but I think, yes, we do. But I think we also have to be aware that not, as our body has blood vessels and muscles and all of that, our energy system also is a piece of architecture.
Right.
And, where does that need to be fixed or propped up or transformed? What color should it be in the moment, et cetera. So I saw in another energy session this week, each of the colors of the 7 there's a color associated with each chakra, right?
Right.
Well, what I saw in one person today was that the colors were completely reversed. Purple being the first chakra, et cetera, going up. Was this bad? No, it was really like this beautiful balancing. So I think, we don't judge ever. I mean, I don't judge when I do energy work on someone what the colors are, but I think that people can become aware of things like this. Is my, just focusing in. How is my energy system? Is it healthy? Is it stable? You can ask your energy system what it needs, right? And you can get an answer in some form. You might get it in a dream. You might get it a visual. You might hear a message. You might have a craving for something healthy later or realize you need to go outside, whatever it is. But I would ask the system. What I do when I do energy work is I put a 3D model of the person in front of me and I turn it around so that I can see their entire system. But, you don't have to work like I do, just ask.
Right. Thank you. No, someone is also mentioning, what does anyone have to say about the year of the tiger we're moving into? The water tiger, which I think is a year to gain power. The tiger is a powerful animal, so it's gain insight and power. So I think these last couple of years have been in a way depleting, and now we're in a way, it's what you're saying, Marla, building up our energy system and building up that power of the tiger that we are coming into this year in the Chinese calendar. Anyone have anything to say?
I love that. And that would speak to being strong, flexible, going after what you want, right?
Yes. The new year starts February 1st, 2022. Anybody have anything to say about that? Year of the tiger?
I want to add to that it's really about bravery, us stepping forward, and that inner knowing that not to be fearful any longer. And so for me, it's really about bravery that I hear. My guys are always telling me it's about the bravery that's stepping forward in all of us, and shifting and letting go of all the worries and the fears and the judgments, of course, but it's about being brave, and it's okay to step out into the limelight for everyone and speak our hearts. And it's really about our hearts, which I think Serena even started off with that. It's about the heart space, leading with love. And also, it's also, you talk about the colors, but the light is the most imperative, because without the light, then we're dimmed, right? That's where we have the judgment and the disruption and all of those things that are coming into the what we would call gray matter, really. So we want to bring in that light within all of us. So whether you're working with your chakras, working with grounding, working with the angelics or anything like that, you're talking about light within you. And so bringing that out to give to everybody else is what's going to raise that vibration and shift with everything that we're doing on the planet. So yeah, if anybody else wants to add to that.
Well, it just seems like we're heading into some new territory with the tiger, and because they never go back on what they do, they always keep moving forward. Djenne Ba, what were you going to say?
You psychic, Alan?
Yeah,
I wanted to say that I wanted to finish my analysis of the planets again, because I heard us mention the purple.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back. Astrology is the embodiment of E=mc². And okay, so I was saying that I broke down the elements. The predominant element is earth. So then when we look at the qualities of cardinal, fixed, and mutables, we have 4 planets in cardinal, which is Capricorn, which means that initiates, because the cardinal signs initiate the seasons. Okay, Capricorn initiates winter. Water, we got Cancer initiating summer. Aries initiates spring. I skipped that. And then we have Libra initiating fall. So those are the signs that initiate. So we take the highest number. We have 4 cardinal, 2 fixed signs, and then we have 4 mutable. So that equals the 10. And so we take the highest quality. So there's 4, which is cardinal is Capricorn. And then we take the element, which is there's 5 earth signs. And so cardinal earth is Capricorn, which again, you know, the themes repeat, gives us the goddess Ma'at. And, you know, that's the winter, because winter, at the winter solstice, when we go within, you know, they say the Capricorns are cold because that's the initiation of winter. But it's also going within and listening to your heart and what it's telling you. And so that's a very powerful message. But again, we have mutable, 4 mutable earth. And
You're talking about the chart that you did at the beginning, right? The chart of the new year.
Yes, the planetary placements.
Right,
the planetary placements.
Right.
So when you look at the mutable, is also, there's 4 mutable, and mutable earth is Virgo. So again, it's just like when you look at a chart, certain themes repeat. And the Virgo energy, Virgo rules health. Virgo rules healing. What are you putting in your body? Just like she was saying in the energy work. And so to me, if you focus on improving your health, get a spiritual practice, meditate, listen to your heart chakra, that you will make bounds and leaps in 2022. And a color, she mentioned color. So the color for Virgo, the nurturing mother, is what I call royal purple. We're talking about a deep purple, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. And Virgo rules 2 signs, Gemini and Virgo. Gemini is the day sign of Virgo. Excuse me, Gemini is the day sign ruled by Mercury, and Virgo is the night sign. Virgo rules inner vision, okay? That night vision. And so that's very significant also as far as listening to your dreams. And so we're looking at, as far as wearing colors, I call it royal purple, or having burning those candles, having that fabric color on your altar, very healing.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll get back to you. Todd, do you have more to add to your predictions too, a little bit, because I know you're.
Well, yeah, I'll just summarize that 2022 is a year of implementation for all New World Order plans, which must be completed by March 2023. So that being the case, it means that there will be conflict, there will be blowback, there will be resistance, there will be challenges, there will be surprises with 4 eclipses occurring, 2 in 2 solar and 2 lunar in Taurus and Scorpio. Watch for a change in values, because Taurus rules values. So a lot of things that people believe now and they're holding on to firmly, even in the political spectrum, is going to reverse because of new revelations, new information. So expect that. Expect wide swings and serious volatility in the stock market starting around April, May, and October, November.
Right. That's well, the volatility, I mean, just expect it, huh?
Right.
Alex,
I'd also add,
go ahead.
I'll also add, with Jupiter going into Aries on the solstice of 2022, that's going to bring a big charge into things. You know, you're going to see conflicts. You're going to see global conflicts erupting around that time. And one last point I want to make, because I didn't get to make it about the eclipses when you asked the question. And I said that it cuts off things. I also want to say it injects energy. It is the eclipses with 12 to 1300 year cycles from birth to death in 18-year interval along those 12 to 1300 years that gives us the impetus, the drive to bring about the expression that that eclipse is bringing about. And so it will be a cutoff of one thing and a bringing in of something else that the energy is about. So if it's Aquarius, it's going to bring in the light, and it might be cutting off something else. Just to give an example.
No, I love that. That helps me understand eclipses a little bit more. Alex, do you have anything you had? I know you took a lot of notes. Do you have anything you want to add as we start to wrap up here?
Well, since we just mentioned eclipses, there's something interesting this year about them. We have the 2 in the spring and then the 2 in the fall. But what's different about them this year than last year is that the solar comes before the lunar. Last year we had the lunar before the solar, and that signifies a more intense reaction. So that's why I feel that though there's a lot of stuff going on, I think we are slowly getting resolution, but a lot of it comes through revelation as Pluto unearths things. As Mars conjuncts Rahu in July 16th through August 10th, that could be quite volatile though. So even though it's slowly getting better, there are still some dips. And I am concerned about that because that could be very, there could be blowups there. And some people even feel that it could represent a civil war. I can't even process that because it seems too dramatic for me. But I think it does speak to that we've been so divided lately. And so even if it doesn't represent a full-on war, it does seem to signify that we're not really cooperating, and one group is going that way, one is going that way, and we're not accessing real solutions because you have to hear each other.
Well, that is what's happening right now, though. That is sort of what we see.
It's gonna get more intense in the summer, I have to say, and it could be kind of ugly in some ways. But that's temporary, and from that we can get a lot of clarity and light, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come to light. Rahu's very karmic, and it has to. And he and Mars, when we started this Karla Sarpa yoga that I mentioned at the beginning, where the planets were being hemmed in for karma, Mars was in the constellation of Scorpio at the scorpion's tail, which is the stinger where the poison is. So, you know, that's the virus and whatnot, and the new variants that are coming out, but it's also the medicine. But the thing is, what is really medicine? What is not? Why are some people being censored and silenced when they're actual scientists and doctors? So a lot of that will have to be addressed. You know, after a while, you can't get away with things forever. Karma does play out. What you put out comes back, but it's not punishment. It's just the law of cause and effect. Moving into the end of the year, Mars will go, like, we'll have like 6 planets retro in the fall. And then Mars will join that in October, going into the beginning of the year in the nakshatra or lunar mansion called Mrigashira, which represents a searching for truth. So then people will start to put that into action more, wanting real truth, not just bias based on an ideology, like are you left or right? So yeah.
Wow.
And I just want to end with, you know, in the bigger picture, the divine within us collectively and all around is fully aware of what's happening and is still in power ultimately, and is still love. And so as we go within, as all these wonderful seers have been saying throughout this, we will find the power that we need to stay balanced and powerful and joyful and healthy. We just have to, so this is a time of awakening. So the reason why we're having all this chaos is to jolt people up. Now, you and I and many here already got that message. So we don't need all this drama and trauma. Stay in the light, you can stay in your joy, and we'll be good examples of what people can look forward to, that they can survive this, and then they'll come to you and us for healing. and strengthening. So we don't have to, like, light workers don't have to go through hell right now. Unless we are focused on the negativity, then we will experience this battle that's going on, and then we'll be in the middle of it and wonder what happened to God and where I thought things were going to get better. But that's because we're listening too much, we're looking too much at what is, as opposed to creating. We're reacting to what is. So find your power, stay in it. The universe is fully supporting us. Just go within. These are the best of times, and they will get better for those who seek. So I'm very optimistic of that.
Well, that is good news. Finally, a good weather report for the year coming out of Alex Santiago.
Alan, can I
with
say
us.
something?
Yes, Djenne Ba. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, please.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the Pluto energy, that it has two sides to it. It has the highest and the lowest, of the highest spiritual energy when it comes to transformation, and the lowest energy when it comes to like gangsters and thugs.
Yes.
And so it's like, whose side are you going to vibrate and resonate with of the Plutonian energy? Which energy frequency do you want to plug into? That's number one. Number two, regarding eclipses. I started studying eclipses, I don't know, over 20 something years ago. And they can definitely, if they are on a planet in your chart, specifically Mars, you will die if that eclipse. I have actually documented 12 people who have died because of an eclipse being on one of their planets. And Frank Sinatra was one of them, I believe. But a person came to me for a consultation on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, and the eclipse was going to be on Saturday. This was over 20 something years ago. And I told her, I said, it was on her Mars. I said, slow down. You need to slow down and take it easy. And she had 2 children, and she was a teacher, and she was a workaholic, and she didn't slow down. She went to work that Saturday as a fundraiser for her school. She came home that night, laid down, and never got up. And the eclipse was exactly on her Mars. So eclipse, just because you were saying, Alan, you want to know a little bit more how eclipses
Eclipses really can zap our energies, and we really have to be.
if they specifically hit a planet in your chart, you're gonna feel it. It's just like Mercury retrograde. I do want to say it is going retrograde on the 14th this month.
Mhm.
And my solar return is on the 13th. And yay! I want to say that I'm just put my website up. It's still in process.
Tell people how to find you too for private sessions and all that, Djenne Ba.
Yes, I just put my website up, and it's because I had one and I didn't have one for a long time because it's houseofcosmicenergy.com. And it's evolving. It's just the beginning. I have a lot of stuff to go up, but I just forced myself that I got it out today. And so if anybody's interested, you just go to a contact, and then you can, I'll get back in touch with you.
Houseofcosmicenergy.com. Okay.
Houseofcosmicenergy.com. And I just want to say, and it's just the beginning. So it's not really developed all the way. I just want to say that it's been a pleasure and a joy of being here with all your lovely people.
It's great to have you back with us.
Especially the men.
But it's great to have you back on the panel. You were a star a couple of years ago at the Open Center. I'm glad you were able to come back here. And you're also an expert in Black women archetypes, right? Do you have anything you want to say?
Yes. I just, the Black Goddess Archetypes revealed through African mythology and astrology. I've been working on this for a while. That's why I incorporated the goddess Isis and the goddess Ma'at, and I'll be delving more into that. Also, if you're interested, one of my specialties is astrocartography, which I call the science of relocation. I actually studied with Jim Lewis. I was the last group to study with him in Berkeley. I live in Berkeley, California. I was with the last group to study with Jim Lewis before he left the planet. So that was in the early 90s. So if you're interested, if you're thinking about relocating, I'm doing a workshop. I haven't decided the date, but it's going to be soon, where you take your chart and the astrocartography and see where your powers points around the world and show you how to recast or relocated charts. You can see where you need to be. Because, you know, just like the realtors say, location, location, location is everything, and it works.
So
I'm telling you, it works.
You are an expert in astrocartography, which is great. So you'll get their chart done and you'll analyze it. So we just have to
But I'm
find.
going to do a group. I'm going to do like a webinar, a seminar where we're going to have a group of people where I'm going to show how to use your chart. Because I keyed this phrase years ago. The greatest astrology is married to astrocartography. That's the biggest kept secret. Astrology and astrocartography are married.
Right. They need each other. It's true. You can't, your astrology only works in the better places to live. I know when you're.
No, but whenever you move from your birthplace, you got to cast a relocated chart to see what's up.
Right. Well, okay. Don't leave. I just want to like see, okay, Kat, how can people find you and get to know you better and do a session with you?
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Yeah, you can go to my website, catdivine.com, or you can follow me on IG at Align with Divine, or Facebook, Cat Divine Psychic Medium. I'm also on Clubhouse at Cat Divine. And yeah, this is just amazing. And the energy here, even in this room with everybody, is just extremely just like, first of all, I get really excited. And when I get excited, I know that like everybody's really anticipating something new. So I really feel like, you know, like everybody wants the answers, right? So everybody feels this energy pull toward them. And I just want you guys to open up your heart, just open it up, just focus on that heart, bring in some light, and just let that come to you. Let, you know, your inner knowings come to you. So I just want to share that because people here are just, you know, like craving for new information and new insights, but it is within you. Just so you know, it's all within you.
Teach.
What?
Thank you for teach. You say? What do you say?
Me? Teach?
I'm saying teach. You know, that's how black people, we're like, when you're talking the truth, we say teach, just like preach, or teach a preacher.
Oh yeah.
And I love your heart. I love your background. That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kat, for joining us. Marla, how can people have readings with you? And oh wait, unmute, Marla. Unmute. Wait, there you go.
I'm so sorry, Alan.
Oh, it's okay. You'll get used to it. It's only been 2 or 3 years, but it'll.
Okay. I would love to do psychic readings. And also right now, I would love to do energy sessions with anybody. So we can do what we talked about, updating and stabilizing and getting full. And you can reach me at marlalombard.com.
It's in the chart, marlalombard.com. Thanks for joining us, Marla. I know it's a little different than our normal discussion. Marla and Kat and I have a weekly discussion. I call it the ET Roundtable, but other people are invited to join us. Oh, so, Ann Todd, where can people find you? And do you have any, I know you did a big study on this 2022, so you might have something more to add. So, wait, unmute, Ann Todd. Unmute, yes.
On mute. All right, here we go. Yes, there's so much to say about the topic because of the challenges of the past 2 years are resolved in this year to set next year forward, just to put it that way.
Wait, let me absorb that. So for 2 years, we've been struggling.
The buildup in the past 2 years.
And now we're going
to be there's going to be a challenge in this year, which is going to get resolved by the end of the year to bring 2023 in.
And that will a little smoother sailing in 2023.
I mean, there are different levels, there are different platforms. So I think basically what we're doing is, you know, we're addressing one set of issues and we're putting them behind us, and then a new platform, you know, comes up. It's like an elevator. So now we have to take this elevator up to another level. You know, I'm basically what I'm talking about is like the whole coronavirus thing is going to morph into something else. Maybe the currency, maybe, you know, it's designed to go lockstep to reach a certain goal and destination.
Right.
So yeah, so this is the year when those challenges are going to be presented on the table. And this
Mm,
is the year when they're going to be resolved as well, because the table has to be cleared by the end of the year to enter into the next year. And it's not been like that in all the years that came before, but in this year is a very critical year because it's a turning point. It's where things are going to go, either going to go north or they're going to go south.
right.
See,
Thank-
you're right.
No,
And my
great.
information is provided in the comments
In the
below.
chat, that's
chat.
celestialaffairs.com to get Antad. He does a lot of personal readings and all that. Thanks so much for being here. It's good to see you again. You know, Djenne Ba, Antad was a friend of Paula's too. Just a little side note. Yeah. Anyway, you're muted, Djenne Ba. I'll come back to you. Alex, do you have any final words? Also, someone asked in the chat about the Webb telescope, looking deeper and further into space. Anybody have anything to say about that?
We're going to definitely get advances in technology like we've never seen before over the next few years. It's important though to stay grounded and centered, because so that we don't get caught up into a virtual reality while we're still playing with that, because we can lose ourselves in that and create more separation between people, because then we don't have ever to leave the house and just create these virtual realities. But on another note, yes, we're going to have it. It's basically what you're doing with your intention and your level of consciousness, because nothing's good or bad. So technology is not good or bad. It's how we use it. And just don't let it be used to replace real human connection and heart. And it's not the answer to everything. It just should make life easier, but it's not the answer, as some people are looking to science and astronomy and all these things as the answer. Nothing outside of you is the answer. But a lot of what's going on, there's so much more. You know, it affects people differently. So if you want a personal take on that, shall I give my website info? Or?
Yes, give all your information.
Okay, so Prem, which means divine love in Sanskrit, premalchemy.net is my website. If you want to reach me on Instagram, it's premalex9, the number 9, and on Facebook, Alexander D. Santiago, and I can do your personal chart. You could also find me at Namaste Bookshop on Mondays or Om Shanti on Tuesdays for a mini reading. So
It's Prem Alchemy. I'm writing it in.
premalchemy.net. Someone already took .com, so I had to go with .net.
And you're at Namaste Bookstore, which is a great bookstore.
On Mondays.
On Mondays. So, okay, Djenne Ba, do you want to give your information again, and then we'll just wrap it
Okay,
up?
yes, and then somebody wrote in the text, in the chat, that to please, they think that I'm beautiful, but to show the other people's faces. And houseofcosmicenergy.com, and I put it in the chat. And I got, Anton, you said you knew Paula. I would like to talk to you.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, certainly we can do that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll connect.
Alan, hook us up.
Yes, I
Okay.
will. I just want to say that question about the Jack Webb telescope. It's
Oh, yeah.
That
I'm
is,
very excited.
that is going to show us new structures in space that are going to blow us away. A new understanding of the cosmos, new discoveries, because it's way beyond what Hubble is. It's going 1 million miles out into space, and it's I think we're in for a lot of surprises about the universe we're living in, and I'm really excited about that. So
I'm very excited about it too. Did you watch the launch live?
no,
I watched it live. I was just like up and just wired up. It was so exciting.
and that reminds me of just promoting this book, Making Contact. You can get it. It's the latest in the UFO world, and I should be having more books come out, but buy this one if you haven't bought it already. It has lots of great reviews on Amazon, and it's a collection of essays. So anyway, this has been another beautiful panel with some great people, and I think, you know, we have some good comments in the chat, and a really steady audience here for the evening. So we didn't get many questions, but thank you all for the time you put into making this
Thank you.
another new realities predictions for the New Year event. I'm really excited that we're able to deliver this. And I think it's hopeful. I mean, the last 2 years, I do see movement this year. I see a kind of opening passage that we might be entering a whole new world. And, you know, we still have a little bit up until April to work through, but then I think things open up. And I think personally, for some people, things open up, and it's a time for creativity, building one's energetic body and awakening the mind. So thank you all for being
Thank you, Alan.
tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love. Peace.
One love, as Djenne Ba says. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you
See you
so much.
soon.
Alan,
Oh.
thank you, everybody.
I am doing a panel, a walk-in conference this weekend, Portal to Ascension. Go to Portal to Ascension and join us for the walk-in conference. That is January 8th and 9th. See you there, and keep watching New Reality.